Uh, Thanks very much. Thank you, Melissa. I'm not going to talk at all about myself. I mean, it's, as I say, I'm unfortunately have to leave at 5 to 8. So I just want to thank you all for being here. It's a very messy time and people are not having fun, as I'm sure you aren't, but this will be recorded as well. So hopefully people who couldn't be here tonight who apologized to me will be able to hear some of the new poems at least. Basically, this is a mixture of very recent poems and poems from Skin Rafts, my book that was published this year. If anybody's interested in buying Skin Rafts, that would be nice. You just have to go onto the Majaji website and it is available. I suppose every time I finish a book, and it was the same with this one, I say to Rochelle, well, that's my last book. And then for some reason, I start writing again. And I suppose my first poem tonight, which is a new poem, is trying to deal with this fact that every time I say I'm going to stop writing poetry, it kind of ambushes me again, and I'm not quite sure why. This first poem is called It. Can everybody hear me? Is everybody okay? It. I feel it come at me and I am not ready again. Moth-formed, ghosts flight to light, squamous skin sliding under my dreams' doors, subdued only through night sweats and nightmares. Or more like a rumor of water, of fog flowing above a landscape that can never be cultivated, that falsifies the heart. Always it springs forth, then pretends to live in me. But it is never what I think, comes only when summoned by what seems most banal, a spurious gift from the heaven of the mutes, takes possession of me in any day's gnarled thickets of meanings when, with even fleeting insight, I should have disentangled my tongue myself. I find I never can. This continual slithering noise might be dread or ardor, or even some cat-like god at play, batting about my skein of words. It might even be truth, but it is not mine. I'm going to follow that with a couple of love poems. The two first love poems I read are also new, subsequent to Skin Rafts. The first one is called Touching Dawn. The sea, an apiary of light where crests briefly scintillate, shake themselves free like bees in search of the honey of the sun, itself a flower risen. The sound that grumbles then is stilled, winds turn, seek new directions, waves scrabbling each time to find a shore. That one, right there, so near their whitened fingertips. Also, though, this other dawn, where I, who can hardly see past steam rising from my teacup, find you here next to me. I am turned around by you, by our immensities, this buoyant sea, a love we've learned to trust within us and about us, even more than fulfilled desire comes as fresh surprise. The commonplace of joy we find when our bodies merely touch. And the third new poem, I was a bit worried about this because I think I was initially triggered into this poem by the Hungarian singer Marta Sebastian, and I was a bit worried I might be a bit too much like it. But I looked and it doesn't seem to be, but it's certainly Marta Sebastian who got me going on this one. For want of a better title, I've called it Lyric. Softness, softness, rest alighting on my palm, the bird hidden in the tree begins at last to sing. Blindness, blindness, I cannot see your face, So speak to me those words you will not give to others. Stillness, stillness, breath slowing in the dark. Under these cold stars, desire still builds its fire. Sweetness, sweetness, my body feeds with yours within one tiny room, enormous as all space. Deftness, deftness, the labors of our fingers disentangle every clock, till all of time is opened. The next three poems I'm going to read are in fact from skin rafts. The first one is called The Beekeeper's Husband. As I've said in some of our previous readings, that I love Sylvia Plath's bee poems, and I suppose this engendered this one. If her words could only buzz in the hive of his mind like bees, tiny alchemists perpetually at work to transmute what she feels into the slow magic of honey. If only her words to him could become swift, winging through a garden that flares its colors to his senses, could float above grass, ride any breeze, dodge between branches in a blurring of wings, veer with the inspirations and aspirations of her breath, so that even as he waits, a bedraggled drone, he could at least know the measures of her flight, savor her speech, map the inclinations she has found to steer between their home, the flowers and the sun, her way of speaking beauty. And may he then be surprised by a returning sweetness brought back to him despite the stings jabbed under his skin, ever harder to scrape away. So that he too, amid the remorseless hum of the world, could learn the figures of her dance, awaken every morning to taste love in its making. I think skin rafts also, during my last couple of books, I've had an increasing interest in animals and talking about the non-human, I suppose, is a better way to put it, animals and others. What I think John Muir called the horizontal citizens of our planet. This one is called Woodpecker. Woodpecker in the forest's vast closed cupboard raps to get out, but it can't. And the hammering caroms from bowl to bowl, from tree to tree, from ear to echo back to ear, till you are wholly trapped within the collateral declensions of its hunger. Nothing remains to twin any beat with its original, just a kaleidophone of multiplying woodpeckers afflicting wood with drum taps whose single authors lost. You can no longer tell the woodpecker for the trees of sound. So here you stand, abashed, hoping to conjure a path out of all the ricocheting directions made possible around you, then recollect exactly when your body began to shatter, to collect the slivers of yourself, which are now mere detritus of the act irretrievable of a single thoughtless bird. I'm going to follow this up with another poem about the non-human, very different kind of non-human. It's called Breathless Creatures, and it's really three little poems. The first one is called Wooden Gull. Sunlight lances through the window each afternoon as our book pages turn without fuss. I wonder, do we keep time with the tides? It's almost spacious enough for the two of us, this hotel room above a harbor. In the glassed out distance, fishing boats go in, go out, while a wooden seagull, painted the correct colors, carved ready for takeoff, sits wobbling on our table edge between the shells, notepads, and complimentary wine. A fly perched on its beak mocks its lack of flight. Second poem, Bird Bath. Stone bowl-bearing frog attracting life. The glaucous eyes stare away from the garden up at the mountain, now only just visible between burgeonings of vibrant Cretan glass, seeded by the rich, massive and infertile. Canted against the slope, it tilts over, imperceptibly, slops more water every day. It won't outlast this winter. And the third poem is called Wire Shark. Entanglements define it. Tensed around a spine, entanglements define it. Tensed around a spine wound by a gnarled village hand, anxious for money, who cajoled it into its unique shark shape. Every day it swims across an infinity of tiles. Not every being's as brave through boredom. Oh, that jeweled blue eye. I would like to set it free, see what it does, watch it plunge into the waves of conjecture. Okay, I'm going back to a new poem. Again, there are one or two I'm going to try and read tonight. I'm not sure how they're going to read. I think this one might be okay. There's another one which might be more problematic. And this is called Drosters. I don't know if any of you know the word, but Drosters are basically, I think it's a word coined, first of all, in the 18th century in Southern Africa. It's a word for drifters, rebels, runaways, and it's mainly in the beginning about runaway slaves running from the Dutch East India Company and from colonization of the Cape. Khoi, conscription deserters, various rebels, people who are trying to escape the colonial intrusion. And it starts with two little epithets. The one is simply taken from a description at the time, and pardon my pronunciation. Affortun gegaan, zoeken en verder en te lopen, vagabonderen. And the second one is, I think if I remember, it's a quote from Nigel Penn's book. Fugitives were the true pioneers of the colonial frontier. They were always in search of the outer limits of the colony in order to pass beyond them. In so doing, paradoxically, they served only to extend the colonial frontier, for they unwittingly took the colony with them. Okay, Drosters. I fled the Dutch East India Company, but was captured. I fled the slave bell, but was captured. I fled the long distance to the mountains of the Galp, but was betrayed and captured. I fled the whip, was hunted down by pain and captured. I fled to Madagascar, but took the wrong path, found the wastelands and was captured. I fled the magistrates, but was captured. I killed the farmer who had my woman, but was burnt with her after we were captured. I have the flesh pinched out from my body with red hot tongs and a noose already waiting round my neck, because I always will be captured. I fled what my meester called this earthly coil, but the memory of me was captured. I fled the Roineks, but was captured. I fled Lord Milner, but was captured. I fled the slum yards, but was captured. I fled for Wood, but was captured. I fled Sun City, but was captured. I fled the ANC, but was captured. I fled the copyright laws, but was captured. I fled the compradors grunt wheedling at their troughs, but along with them, I'm captured. I fled the glitter of brand names, but was captured and branded on that wheel. I fled those who smiled at me from their big houses, but now I'm soothed and captured. I fled the words of all who want to name me, but was tripped up on the milestone of this page, and so I am still captured. The next poem is in somewhat lighter vein. It's from Skin Rocks as well. It's called Surfers. Surfers, again, it's three poems really, three small poems. Surfers. Over and over the surfers enter the surf, but these days just one side of the beach. Raise middle fingers at the suppers, try to make them enter on the other, as far away as possible. Glided by both sides, by enforcers of the rival codes, a girl supper and boy surfer share a spliff, reclining on a dune, still hot with what sands not yet been attended to by dogs. Backwards, forwards, to and fro they inhale, then exhale, grunting with satisfaction. To them it doesn't matter if their peer groups peer, or grumble about wave etiquette, or demand a band on hydrofoils, or curse each other's false sang-froid. Their wetsuits glisten with shocked water, as if they had just emerged from their mother's wombs, neophytes neoprening. Throbbing with discovery of lust, they're explorers, a new Romeo and Juliet setting out in earnest to map the riptides of the flesh and be dumped in its backwash. An aging surfer lifts one foot, then another as exercise, then one leg higher than the other, becomes an ungainly crane about to re-enter its native sea with some assurance. Or something else, a creature from the black lagoon. Meditating in a wetsuit, a young woman in the lotus position contemplates with serenity the nurdle-laden sea. The next poem I'm going to read is also from Skin Rafts. A couple of these poems I've never read before to anybody, so I'm not sure how they'll go. This is called The Actor. The Actor, its subtitle is A Dream of Too Much Light. Expecting as a young man some path of luminosity his footsteps would follow, the passage inevitable as transcribed music, known when heard even for the first time. After 4 decades on the stage, he unearthed just one strand of knowledge. It never would be found. These days, between performances, he hugs himself close in dark room after dark room in motels smelling of mildew, dodging the fiery heat of each stop noon, before freeloading off small towns of apathy and smugness. If he opens his curtains towards sunset, he just might find a fly, drunk with a glare, expiring in the window, trapped inside a featureless, unbearable, emphatic chamber of light, no longer abuzz despite the lucid world on the other side of its feet, just beyond its butting head, a world that for hours has taunted it, so close. Now it is too late. If it was set free, it would no longer seek escape on tattered, unresponsive wings, but blunder into wars at all angles of the compass. It has become too late to want the world. And I think I'll end with one more poem. I'm not sure about this one. The problem with, as all of you are poets will know, the problem with reading poems to audiences is that it's best to read short poems, really. I've only once tried to read my favorite poem from Skin Rafts, which is a long poem called Farm. And when I read it that time, I had Philippa Yard-de-Villiers to read half of it, so it didn't seem going too bad. But people have, there are problems of concentration, I think, with long poems. This is an accumulative poem, and I'm really not sure if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to give it a go. And it's, as I say, it's what I will end with. It's called How to Begin Measuring the World. The song of cicadas busy with their wording, and the songs of children ululating in joy, and the song of an owl brooding on a roof, and the wriggled songs of babies limb dancing their new bodies, and the songs bees hollow out in stumps soporific, threatening, and the song of sun-dazzle flickered upon the rivers, and the shushing songs of treetops trying to dodge the breeze, and the songs of those who trip and land in prickly pear, and the humming song of stomachs full for once with puff, and the hoaxing hunger sung by crows we know are thieves, and the songs of dispossession ghosting over high fences. Oh, my country, so quickly saddened. And the song every flower finds in a color after dawn, and the spray songs of wind lifting the sea up in its arms, and the distressed songs of plants pocked by too little rain, and the braggart songs of tiny birds not yet quite sure of flight, and the nudging songs of drizzle upon the spines of leaves, and the song and dance forms around what your eye mistakes for I, and the acne song of teenagers howling down the highway, and the songs of Kwaito artists tromp and treadle towing, and the snail songs of everyone who promise that they'll change, and the barbed wire songs of those who won't share the land, and the loud songs of anger scabbing all our skins, and the mock heroic male songs that flex too many muscles, and the songs of old women masticating their disregarded wisdom, and the songs of dampened thighs locked in infatuation, and the songs of beauty briefly skittering across a mirror. Oh, my country habitually bereaved. And the stink yodeling from every blink of a cigarette, and the furtive songs of moles forgotten burrowing underground, and the songs of wheelchairs grinding stuck motionless in sand, and the songs of calabashes striving to burst and let forth seed, and the mistake sung by a past that tinkles its bones like castanets, and the song lures of poison dissolving slowly in a glass, and the hijacking songs of numbers tattooed noose-like upon a neck, and the implacable songs of loss from a burgeoning of victims, and the dirge cave where our future crouches, weeping for its people, and the songs of dementia when we'll forget just whom we're blaming, and you deceived so many times, my country. And the song, least of all. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Everybody wants to
I'll have to go, actually.
give a clap that we see. Kelvyn, thank you so much for reading. It was wonderful to have you
I'm
here.
very sorry I can't stay for what happens next, but thank you very, very much for your interest. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelvyn. Kelvyn, unfortunately, has to leave us because he's got load shedding hitting now, so we'll not be able to do a Q&A tonight, but at least we got to hear half an hour of wonderful reading.